Today, I want to talk about a topic that is near and dear to me, something that I love talking about, also something that we're just not hitting on enough and putting enough emphasis on in K-12 and higher education or corporate learning. All right, so a lot of people will ask me, well, you run a technology channel, your doctorate is in how people learn, like instructional design and educational psychology. Why do you have videos on exercise or anything to do with that? And the reason I have videos on this stuff is because it totally relates to learning and it relates to education. And as an educator, I should know all about this stuff because it has such significant impacts on how people learn. And it can impact you and your students. So listen, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you some of the research on the topic and talk a little bit about what's been happening, what's being found, and why these topics are important. Let's begin. Okay, so these topics are usually called lifestyle factors. They're beyond the control of what a normal classroom teacher does. A normal classroom teacher is meant to teach students to learn to recall, like we're going to test them, and get them to memorize information, right? And we want to get them to memorize information in the most effective ways possible. We use strategies like self-explanations, recall, we have mnemonic, all kind of different stuff to get students to learn. But we are missing out on a significant portion called lifestyle factors. Lifestyle factors include things like sleep, diet, and exercise. And I want to talk about all three of those today as they relate to learning. So let's begin. All right, first thing, sleep. So does sleep impact learning? Now, what happens to you after you've had a bad night of sleep? Are you in the mood to do anything the next day? I mean, seriously, do you feel like doing anything the next day? No, if you have a terrible night's sleep, you're all groggy and you don't feel like doing anything. So we should just know by default that sleep has a significant impact on learning. But let's just take a look at the research to see what it has to say so that we can verify that. All right. So one of the things I want to point out, I've looked at a number of studies on these topics. I'm just trying to pull out a select few to show you some examples of the types of things that are being found. All right, so the first study here was conducted in 2019, and basically it's on, what are the effects of academic performance when you do not sleep well? Here's what they found. So what this study did is it gave students an activity tracker. There's Garmin watches, we got Apple watches, we got all kinds of ways to track people's sleep. They gave 88 students, college-age students, an activity tracker and tracked their sleep. Listen to what they found. So they found that overall better sleep correlated with higher grades. And it wasn't just like one night of bad sleep. That's not what they found. They found over time, like over a week or over a month, your sleep pattern is what affected you. So if you're sleeping bad and then having one good night of sleep before the test, no, it's all the sleep combined is where there was an impact. Really interesting finding. All right, another study. This study was given to 364 college students and found that better sleep led to higher achievement. So there are numerous studies out there with these kind of findings, and it makes sense. It's common sense. So what can we do? How can we help someone? How can we help students, even elementary age, get better sleep? It's all about education and teaching people how to get a better sleep, like have a routine, making sure it's quiet, dark, whatever helps them get to sleep. But there are all kinds of means to getting better sleep that we can teach people. No matter what your situation is, it can always be somewhat improved, even if that just means having a noisemaker or making your room a little darker, wearing a little nightshade over your face. Whatever it may be, there are always ways to improve it. It's just about consistently improving it to make it better. All right, that's sleep. So we now know sleep impacts your learning. Big, huge thing. All right, next thing let's talk about. Let's talk about diet. How does diet impact your learning? I mean, does that even make sense? Should diet impact your learning? It turns out it does. Now, I study diet and nutrition extensively. So it's no surprise to me that diet would have a significant impact on the way people learn. But it does. Let's get into it and talk about it. All right, so the following study looked at students that were 16 years of age, and basically what they found is that students who ate a well-balanced, healthy diet versus an unhealthy diet were going to perform better on tests that measured both language skills and mathematics. Then we look at another study here. This study looked at snacks that students ate throughout the day. So whether they ate what's considered an unhealthy snack or a healthy snack. Now, an unhealthy snack would have been things considered like a bag of chips or a candy bar versus a healthy snack that is like an apple or celery sticks. The students who ate the unhealthy snack were 56% less likely to pass language and 66% less likely to pass mathematics compared with students eating healthy snack items. And that was measured based on a standardized test that the students were given. So really interesting findings when you start talking about the effects of diet and what you eat on how you feel. So let me just give you an example. So for those of you who have, if you're watching this and you have eaten a huge lunch, how do you feel afterwards? Tired? Sleepy? Some people will tell me, I work best in the morning, I don't work great in the afternoon. Because you ate something, some kind of lunch that wasn't good for you, and then you're sleepy. You don't do well the rest of it. You're not performing well anymore. We need to start thinking about what we eat and its impacts on us. There are always ways to improve your eating. There are always ways to make sure that you're eating, less unhealthy foods. And I don't want to get into the whole what's healthy versus healthy discussion right here because there's all kinds of debate on that. But in general, there are some good general rules to follow about eating healthy versus unhealthy. And it's very easy to start to do a little bit of learning. And again, this is an educational thing. Teaching people about eating healthy will help them make better choices. And surprisingly, in many cases, eating healthy is actually cheaper. Now, I'm not talking about like organic salmon, which might be super expensive. And I'm not talking about the organic versus not organic, but making better food choices can save you significant amounts of money. Like, for example, beans versus certain meats. The beans are much cheaper. So there are ways to eat much cheaper and actually make healthy choices. So education in that area would go a long way. All right, next thing I want to talk about, exercise. Effects of exercise on learning. The first study here found that students who exercised at least 30 minutes per day outperformed those that did not. The second study here is actually a meta-analysis that focused on 39 articles in order to figure out what were the general conclusions based on all of these research studies. What they found was that classroom physical activity had a positive effect on improving on-task classroom behavior, led to increased academic achievement and increased academic related outcomes. So there is a number of research studies showing that exercise can have a significant impact on the way that people learn. Now, one of the things I did mention is as I was doing my literature review on exercise, the effects of exercise in learning, there were a number of studies that appeared to be mixed. Some did not find any significant difference. So I did want to point that out, showing that not all did. But I think that the general consensus among experts, as I'm reading various articles from Harvard and Mayo Clinic and other various respectable places, is that it appears that there appears to be a positive correlation to exercise and doing well in school. Even if it's a small effect, it appears to be there's some kind of benefit. There didn't appear to be any disadvantage to doing it. And obviously getting physical activity is something that everyone can do and everyone can do for free. I've done videos where I've talked about how to work out and stuff like that. Very easy to do body weight exercises, walking, jogging, all kinds of different things that kids can do. Okay, so these are 3 lifestyle things that can significantly impact the way you learn, how much you can learn, and if you can learn better or worse, that kind of stuff. So the big question is, what can, if you're a teacher watching this, what can you actually do? And I've told you some of the things. I think the best thing, my recommendation to an educator, is to educate. And it really has to come down to educating parents and just providing information to show them that, hey, these 3 things can significantly impact how your kid is performing in our school or our university? Or, if you're a manager and you want your employees to perform well, are they doing things to improve this? A lot of times in corporate, in everywhere, we don't focus on this aspect. Maybe in military we do, because we need our soldiers to be fit, but we don't focus on this kind of aspect in other parts of our life, and we really need to, because it's starting to show that there are differences between the people who are making healthy lifestyle choices and not, in the way that they can perform their jobs and the way how much they can retain information better, how is their cognitive, development going well, and they can improve cognitive output. And for older adults, we're showing that these kind of things can lessen cognitive decline. So they're very important for us to pay attention to. As any kind of educational professional, we should know about these things, which is why you're going to continue to see me do videos on it. Thank you very much, all.